Hey Marvel Strike Force, we've got a new player code. It's up on the screen right now. Happy 7CC MSF. Let's redeem it and see what we get. We've got some purple ions and purple training mats. Those are great. We'll make sure you claim that. Hey Marvel Strike Force, we got the rules for the new Crucible season, and it looks like we've also got a U32 coming up also, where we have the 32-man 3 rooms and it's over 5 days. It's kind of interesting how they're doing it this time. Let's take a look. So you get 6 attacks per room, which I don't think's gonna matter. Your points decrease by 200 each time you do the room. But I really think that we're not gonna drop rooms, or we're gonna drop very few rooms. So we'll kind of get into that. They didn't tell us when it's coming, but I believe right now we have one more week of season 13, which that'll be this weekend. And then next week, I believe we will have the U32. And then the week after, we'll have season 14. I think their plan going forward, and we haven't seen this confirmed anywhere, is the U32 will be the starting week of every season, is what I think they're trying to do. I think they're trying to use the U32 as like a reset point. As people progress and figure it out, then you go up or down. Because with the U32, you get more. There's more time for transition, so you go up or down. With the U32, I'm just gonna scroll around a little bit here. They did 3 rooms, but they also did those same 3 rooms in season 6 or season 14. So that's why I kind of think that we're not going to see dropped rooms, so the extra attacks aren't going to matter. Because if they're designed to be season 14 rooms also, you're going to have more offense than ever. So it becomes very hard to tax people in rooms that are you only have 3 of. So it's not like the stats are extra increased from what I could tell. We'll look at Glass Cannon. Yeah, Glass Cannon's the exact same. So um, on U32, we've got global rules. There isn't any. It's 20% max health, 10% max damage. If you lose, you get +1 exhaust. It's the exact same as the normal tournament. Stage 1, on defense and offense, striker characters spawn with safeguard, gain minus 90% max damage, gain plus 100% damage, spawn with 5 death proofs. I think this room and fortifier characters spawn with taunt. I think this room's got really good potential. The fact that you can force any character to spawn with taunt means you can have a pre-taunt in this room. That's very interesting. The striker character thing is a little scary because there are characters that prevent death proof in the game, and I'll get into more of those when we get into strategy down the road. But minus 90% max damage and plus 100% damage, that's scary. That could be somebody insta-dying. I could see somebody insta-dying to a counter. I could see somebody insta-dying to a fast character. Plus 100% damage is super scary. I mean, that's like Thanos endgame ulting your or passive going off and just making your character go, oops, you're gone. So I'll be very interested to see how that room kind of performs. Stage 2 is Toxic. On defense and offense, all characters on that character's turn attack self for 15% of that character's max health. This damage reduced by the max health of that character by the same amount. Um, I think this is interesting. It really will play into the efficiency game of the tournament, which I think is very important because I think that's kind of where we're moving for this season. I don't think we're going to see a lot of defensive wins, and I think it's going to be a lot more efficiency based. So I think this room matters a lot. Um, I don't know what's in here yet. I've got some ideas. I want to play around with it before I release something, but I think that with 15% max health being taken off per turn, you really want each character to feel impactful. You can't have characters in there that don't do a lot, or that their first turn's pretty wimpy. Fast characters are not I don't think you have to be the fastest character in this room. I think you want to be you want impactful characters. So when I say impactful, um, Groot's turn one is not impactful. That turn one is safeguard immunity, r- removing debuffs. That's just Groot taking 15% damage. Or it's like healer characters to prevent the damage, but also locking out, like taking options for the enemy to take a really fast, efficient counter. So you don't want to put them to where they can take Immortal into this or Night Stalkers. So there's going to be some thought process on both sides, and that's going to take some thought, and that's great. Rules like this are awesome. So I'm really excited to see a room rule like this. I think that's good. Stage 3 is take a moment. This is probably the most important rule of Season 14. On offense, all characters lower the focus by 5,000% and damage by 50% for any non-Mephisto character that takes a turn before any character on defense. This is Cosmic Ghost Rider's passive. So before a character takes a turn, so like if there's a super slow character, he's gonna basically have 5,000 resistance and a 50% DR on him. He's not going to take damage for that initialing blow. He probably won't even get debuffs landed on him or buff flips. He's going to stand there and just take the damage. They're going to get turns. So slower characters have a lot more impact in this defensive meta than they did in the past. It wasn't just a speed advantage. Hit 3 buttons and they're dead. So I do think this has a lot of potential, but I also think you may not put your best room in here because you don't want your best room in this room. You want to put your best room in one of the medium rooms so that you can then make a medium team be a good team also and tax your opponents that way. It's also going to play into lowering the turn advantage, again, playing into lowering efficiency. Though, and I think that's going to be how you win Crucible this next season is lowering efficiency, and I'll talk about that because I think there's a lot of tools on offense this season, and it's going to be interesting to see how we can pull tools back to defense. I think that's going to be a big conversation piece. Season 14, on defense and offense, Starjammer characters. So this is the global rule. On defense and offense, Starjammer characters on piercing damage apply bleed. I don't think that's very impactful. I think Starjammers already either kill things or they don't kill things. I don't think that bleed damage is going to make much of a difference, especially with them having on-kill effects. I just don't see that mattering. So to me, that's kind of an empty room, and the only way it maybe matters is if they get to play on defense, but I don't think they get to play on defense, and I'll talk about that in the future. And a lot of it comes back to Havoc's kit. Havoc's kit doesn't make sense on defense, and I don't think there's a way that you can play that team on defense. Again, the 20% max health, 10% damage, it's the same. So we already talked about stage 1. That's that glass cannon rule that was in the U32 tournament. We're going to skip that one for now. But again, awesome room rule. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Stage 2. On defense and offense, gain 50% max barrier. On spawn, barrier yourself for 100% of this character's max health. Gain 100% damage. On ally death, barrier yourself for 100% of that character's max health. We had that rule in the last U32, and it was very impactful. I don't know that it's going to be as impactful this time because we have the Starjammers, but we might be able to entice people to not use Starjammers in this room, and then in which case that room rule becomes very good again. So I will be interested. There's a lot of topics about when we think about these room rules, what goes on offense and what goes on defense, and how the counterplay works, because there's a lot of counterplay right now. So that I like that rule. Stage 3 with that toxic room, we already talked about that. Let's keep going. Stage 4, take a moment. Lower that, so that was the one we just talked about. So that was the room 3 of the U32. So let's keep going. Stage 5, mutant immune system. Mutant characters on turn clear all negative effects from self, heal self for 10% max health for each negative effect cleared. That is Deadpool's passive, I believe. I'm not sure that matters. When I think about mutant teams and them taking turns or not taking turns. Maybe it matters if there's some new mutants that we don't know about, but right now I think the current mutants we have are on too dated stats to make that a thing. Um, we have Havoc. We have maybe there's some stuff with like Astral, some of the Astral characters and Havoc and Emma, and splitting some characters up. I'm not sure about that. I haven't thought about yet. But when I think of like Extreme X-Men, I just don't think they have the health bar to do that. Because the counters that are there are very efficient. So I'm not sure that that is a room rule that we will use. I'm kind of thinking that that's just kind of an empty room. And then all characters on end of turn gain defense down. All characters on end of turn gain defense down. So offense, if they go really fast, will have defense down. So if you can figure out mutant characters that are beefy enough to take a barrage on turn 1 and then come around and retaliate, it will be pretty good. But I'm just not sure that there's... Like, if Extreme was on new stats, that room would be crazy. That room would be really, really, really good, but Extreme's on old stats. So I'm just not sure we're going to see a lot of value out of that room. I've got some ideas. I want to look at it more when I've got teams in front of me and, you know, when I've thought about both sides, who you would take into the room and who you would put on defense and what that does to your offensive strategy and what that does to your defensive strategy. I think it's an interesting room, but I think it may be we don't have the tools to make it function. Let's look at room 6. On defense and offense, all character speed bar cannot be increased or decreased. Now, this is Dorky Dad's room that he designed from the last Cosmic Crucible tournament. So speed bar cannot be increased or decreased. Characters with speed up can gain minus 50% speed. Characters with slow gain 50% speed. So that's interesting. You really want a fast slow that goes out. You can't rewind them. They can't increase their speed. Speed up is a negative effect. I don't know what that means. Because, like, so for example, what's her name? The Scientist Supreme. She puts out an early turn 1 slow, but she then puts a speed up on herself and her team. So that would be her gaining speed and her team. So her team would lose speed, but so would the enemy team because of the slow. So she is a good character in there, but her team may not be with her. That's kind of weird. Speed stat would also still work in this room, so that's kind of interesting. So speed stat would still do things. So Night Stalkers aren't completely... Because Night Stalkers does a lot of mute things. They gain speed up, but they also put slow out, so that kind of makes them mid. But they also gain speed stat. I think this room's got a lot of opportunity for cheeky plays. There's a lot of characters in the game that do early slows or early speed ups, and I think there's some counterplay to this, which is great. I think these rooms are the most impactful rooms we've had to date, which is great. I'm very excited to see where this goes. I want to see how this plays out. We saw the U32. It was very offensive heavy, is how Dorky won. Some people tried the turtle and do some things, and they dropped rooms just the same. But I personally, I'm very defensive minded when I make my rooms. I think that it's going to be very offensive heavy, and it's because of the recent counterplay pieces that we've gotten in the game. The Null, the Starjammers, both of those pieces countered a lot of our defense right now, and they don't fit well on defense. So look forward to my next video or two on these rooms. I probably will have them out next week when I've had a little more time to sit and digest this. And I probably will have an offensive strategy and a defensive strategy for both. I will try to do 2 different strategies, and then I will kind of probably tell you what I will be running for week 1. As always, this was fun. If you like these type of videos, please thumbs up, subscribe, tell me what you think. All of that helps me grow the channel. I'd love to hear more from you, and stay tuned for the future.